traveling for work. Well, I've had several clients ask me to do work in properties outside of my what I call my area of operation, meaning close to the house. In accepting these jobs, we just thought we'd have a discussion about some of the considerations that you have to basically take into consideration when working outside of your normal area of operation. Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition is entitled Traveling for Work. And to help me explain, I am here with my ever-traveling buddy, Johnny. Johnny has been traveling a little bit lately. So.
Yeah, I have, and that's you brought this topic up. It's pretty interesting, actually. I know a lot of guys do it.
Yeah, and I've actually been doing it a lot. In fact, I was explaining to you before the show, I'm trying to figure out where my bed is because I don't really know right now. I've been on the road for about a month. It's really been kind of in and out and up and down and left and right.
And this is a little bit different. I mean, I traveled my whole career, for my work, but this is a different thing. I mean, you guys, in this work, you got to bring tools and stuff with you. To me, my tool was my laptop or projector and my bag
and your sparkling personality.
My
Johnny.
bag.
That's what that was your biggest.
But I used to run into a lot of guys that traveled as engineers and maintenance guys.
Yep.
I used to see them a lot. But
all right. Well, before we dive into this, we'd like to ask you to please like and subscribe our show and go to our YouTube channel too as well and hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. We're trying to get the word out to other people and spread the word. Basically, we hope we bring you value. Send us an email at questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. If we don't, or if we do, just you want a topic, whatever, get a hold of us. Anyway, with that, Johnny, let's talk up. You were talking a little bit about how you know engineers and things, and I've been doing a lot of this work for about the past 4 years where I've been, to spend a week away, a week at home, a week away, a week at home. And there's some considerations, there's just some things, if you're going to do this, there's some things you need to think about. So. Yeah,
no, absolutely.
Start us off, Johnny. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, sometimes, you bring up a good point. People ask you to, if you can do some work for them, and they might live a couple hours away. It might be a lake house. I'm thinking of one that I've done some work for. But it's always, what do you bring, if you're for your tools, it just goes back to what's the job, what's going on up there and, whatever it might be.
Right. There's tremendous opportunity. I actually was talking with a guy, somebody that contacted me through our website, and basically he just wanted help in getting started. And he was really struggling in getting jobs. He lived in Idaho, and he was really struggling in getting jobs in his local area. And he ended up doing a job for somebody at a ski resort that was about an hour and a half away. And now he can't get out of that ski resort because, in a good way, right? He's the word of mouth is spreading and so forth and so on. And the funny thing is that obviously, or not obviously, but the market in his local market was kind of limited, I guess I want to say. But in the ski resort, it's just gangbusters. It's crazy. And he also said he's getting a much higher rate in the ski resort. So he's basically like, hey, man, I'm commuting. And I thought to myself, I said, I would probably do the same thing because it's so much easier when the people have the money, kind of thing. So one of the things that I want to bring up is if you are going to travel for work, make sure it's worth your while. Make sure you're charging really appropriate rates and add a little bit in because there's a lot of things that we'll go over that are effectively they're a combination of inconveniences, but they're also they're considerations. I don't know how else to put it. There's just things that you do when you travel for work that you need to understand you have to pay for. So you need to it's not that you need to make a lot more, but you need to take it into a factor. Now, I will say, if you just want to go on vacation to a place and you can get paid to go there, that's a consideration as well. So
well, the keys. Like we're
Keys,
talking
right?
about Florida
And,
Keys. You know,
and
there are
both John,
places like that that
yeah, both
work
John and
gets
I have a
it's.
lot of experience in the Florida Keys, right?
Hmm.
And we've actually teased the idea of doing a show about going to work in the Florida Keys for y'all because honestly, my brother used to live in the Keys, and as he said, in the contracting world in the Keys, if you show up to do the estimate, you will get the job. That's how bad the need is for people in the Keys. And as we were saying, just like this fellow I was mentioning in the ski resorts,
Hmm.
it's the same kind of thing. But there are also, Johnny, what would you say is the major impediment in the Keys besides the cost of housing?
For work.
It's the Keys
The
disease.
Keys disease. Well, yeah, you got to you got to get in and out. I mean, otherwise you're gonna start dragging like the rest of it. I mean,
For the
it really is that way. I think one of the considerations is for you younger guys out there, it's don't if you're gonna travel, I wouldn't let that stop you, from getting the business, but there are some considerations like your family and night, uh, and those kind of things. How long you're going to be gone. How often. If it is a long commute, make it worth your while for sure.
right. And you just bring up the family and the things like that, and it is really a consideration, right? You do have to weigh this all out. I would say do the old Ben Franklin thing, take a
Hmm.
piece of paper and put pros and cons and look at it that way. In my case, I've been very fortunate where I just basically take the weeks and work the weeks and then come home on the weekends. And that works for me. That works for me. So that's why I say that if you're on a really extended, like there's welders and things that go on the road for
Yes.
months at a time, and they never get home. And so that's a different kind of consideration. But you just kind of weigh these things out as a handy person. You might have those, you might not, or you might just have a week up at somebody's mountain house or somebody's lake house or somebody's other property because they trust you and they like you and they want you to do the work because you do a good job and all the kinds of things that we talk about. So let's discuss it. Let's just talk about a lot of the things. I think the first thing that when I think about it, the first thing is this is actually like moving. So
Hmm.
if you've never moved in your adult life or whatever you want to call it, where you've actually never moved from one location to another, you do have to think about it that way. Johnny, you've moved a couple of times in your lifetime.
Hmm. Yeah,
What do
several
you
times.
what are the considerations when you're moving? What are the big considerations, right?
Well, I mean, as it applies to traveling for work, to me, every time I get down the road, I'm like, what did I just leave behind? I mean, honestly,
What am I going to need, right?
but if you're gonna, if you want to relate it to like moving, you're gonna, you have to have kind of a handle on what kind of equipment that you need to bring with you.
Yeah, it's all of that and more.
There's a lot of forethought. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, because you're going to go into an area where you really don't know, you
Know
don't
what's
know
going on.
anyone,
Yep.
you don't know anyone, or you might know very limited people. You
Hmm.
don't even really know what's around the location. And I mean this from the standpoint, if you're going to stay for a week, where's the grocery store, right? Where are the restaurants or like, all of that kind of thing. Where are your supply stores, right? Don't assume there's a big box store on every corner because sometimes there's not. Sometimes it can be very, very far away. And these are all some of the considerations that you just sort of need to take into mind. Where are you going to stay? Are you going to stay in a hotel? Are you going to take a camper? Are you going to stay at the job site? If you're in, like, for example, if you're working at somebody's mountain house, you might be able to say, I don't have a place to stay. Can I stay at the house? And they say, yes, no, maybe, and accordingly, you need to set your pricing according to those kinds of things. So that's why I say it's like moving. I do have to say one of the big things is suppliers and knowing where suppliers are because
Yeah,
boy,
I think what's on your side on this one is Google Maps. So Google Maps, Apple Map, whatever. You can just look at the area and then search the area for all those kind of things.
Right.
You know, you've got that going for you these days, where in the past you never did. So it was like, you know, where is that place? You know, at least you can you know, get a handle on all that. So
In advance.
in advance.
Yeah, doing
Yep.
it in advance. I mean,
Yep.
Johnny, you know, there's the local, I don't know if you call it a subdivision, but there's a local housing community called Big Canoe in the greater Atlanta
Yeah.
area. And you get to Big Canoe, and dude, you're a long way from anything,
Yeah.
because it's 20 minutes inside the gate before you get to a home. And even if when you get to the home, the closest thing there's an Ace Hardware, and that's it. There's nothing else. You're going to
Yeah.
drive probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half, just depending, to get to a Home Depot or a Lowe's or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not close.
You know,
it's not close.
That does bring up you know, something I was thinking about is that, you know, you drive around in some of these areas, you know, and you see like a lone house on the top of a mountain or something. And you know, I was thinking, how in the hell did they get everything up there, you know?
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
out in
Oh,
the
yeah.
middle of absolutely nowhere and way up there. And how, I mean, anyways, it's the same thing. You really have to think these things out. Now, I will say that, you know, there is, you take it to another level. And if you really travel, you're not going to you can't bring all your tools with you. Let's say that, you know,
Well, speak for yourself, Johnny.
well, no, I'm thinking of some other things that I've seen where people actually, you know, have to fly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Far, far, far away.
now you can't, you know, now you're like, wait a minute, I'm gonna have to rebuy a bunch of stuff, you know, if I have an extended, let's say that I have a place down in Florida, for instance, and I'm not gonna fly, you know, if I do fly down there because I have to commute back and forth, I'm gonna have to buy, you know, maybe some cheap table saws and, you know, cheap stuff, you know, got to leave my good stuff behind, and then sell it down there, you know,
Yeah.
whatever it takes.
It's just all considerations that one needs to think about. And even if you think about it that way, just for example, say you've got I don't know, doesn't matter, say a 7-hour trip, right? One way, drive time, right? You can drive your vehicle out there. I guess the question is, where would you park it, and is it secure, and things like that?
Yeah,
And then
right.
can you fly home, you know, and sort of work that way? I know when I've been doing the remodels, I actually had a camper, and that was my base of operations. I lived in that camper for, gosh, Johnny, I think it was about 2 years by the time we did 4 houses. And so by the time we did 4 houses, it was 2 full years that I lived in that camper. But that's an option as well. A lot of like we were talking about, those welding guys, they usually all have campers. You know, they just live out of their camper, and they drag a big trailer behind them that has all their tools and stuff in it. Basically a mobile shop is what they carry. And that's how they do their business. And it works.
Well,
for
I was
them.
reading I was reading an interesting article about some of the Americans that went over to rebuild the Notre Dame chapel over there, the tower.
Yep.
And you know, all the old world craftsmanship that they had to provide to put it all back together the way it was and everything, and you know, and that got me thinking about, man, where'd they get all the tools and everything that they bring them with? I mean, you know, so
Yeah.
the logistics in that is, you know.
Think about the logistics. It's
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually, in some ways, it's a lot of fun. Now let's go through, I'm going to go through some of the cons. So number one, right now, honestly, this particular handyman is a little tired because he's still trying to figure out what town he's in on any given date, you know, and which bed he's sleeping in. So remember, you're not sleeping in your own bed unless you're like, if you take, one of the advantages for us taking my camper is that I got to know my own bed, it was my own surroundings. Eventually I got used to it. These are considerations, you know. I get done now, even I still do some work far away, and I go spend a night at a friend of mine's house, and I'll tell you, I get tired because it's different sounds. It's that whole Johnny, you know that from traveling, when you were traveling doing your software gig. It's never the same bed, and it's a little it's a little rough.
I mean, I can tell you times that you know, I stayed in 3 different hotels in a week, and I didn't know what car I was driving. I didn't know what hotel room I was in. You know, I didn't know if I was going to get shot, if I was going into another hotel and I'm putting a key in a wrong door. It's like, you know, I mean, honestly, I woke up and I had to walk out in the parking lot with the key fob and just keep flashing it, until the car started honking.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Yeah.
know what car I was driving. So, yeah, it gets a little confusing after a while. But
It's not quite so bad in the contracting business, honestly, because you tend to be at one site for an
yeah,
extended period, right? So you're there for a week or a couple of weeks, and so it's not quite that bad. But it still is a change of venue, a change of sites, a change of sounds, and at the same time, that's a big plus. So it just sort of depends, It sort of depends on what your personal preference is.
yeah. And
Personally, go ahead,
I
go
was
ahead, you go ahead.
And I was going to say, and that brings up, a whole nother topic of, you'll get to know hotel rooms real well and how to hack the hotel rooms for your stay, Believe me,
and
I'm rearranging the furniture. I'm doing all kinds of stuff in the room, and you're going to find out those hangers with the clips on them, for the pants are going to come in real handy to keep the blinds shut all night, so they don't. But I mean, it's
That's a whole different
that's a
show.
whole nother thing.
Those are house hacks, and that's hacking the system. That's also probably we could go into credit card point systems and all that kind of thing, but we're not going to discuss that here because there's whole strategies on how to take advantage of all of that stuff. And so, it's just amazing. But I think the purpose of this show was just don't, think about it. And if you want to do it, just again, we talk a lot about pre-planning and about thinking things through. And this is one where, gosh, it can be a lot of, I enjoy it personally. I enjoy it because it's a different venue every once in a while. You get to go see different things. You get to kind of sample the local, a different place. It's just like going on vacation, except it's better because you're getting paid. Or at least that's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, my takeaway here is that, for you younger guys out there that might not be as tied down as some of us older guys, and that kind of stuff, but don't let it stop you. It's a good experience. If the job, if you see some interesting jobs and they really help your career, whether it be from a resume standpoint or, whatever it might be, from money or whatever, then go for it.
Yeah, do it while you're young because there's no other time that you can do it, right? If you want to go work in Alaska, dude, go work in Alaska if you're in your 20s. Don't hesitate. Don't say, oh, it's not good for my career, blah, blah, blah. No, go do it because now in my 60s, I'm like, I wish I'd gone to work in Alaska when I was for the summer, when I was in my 20s. It's like wish, woulda, coulda, shoulda, and trust me on that one, and there's plenty of opportunity up there, even on that temporary basis or anywhere, really, anywhere you want to go. I don't care where you want to go. Think about it. If you have this skill set, take it. Fortunately, I guess our skill set as handymen is applicable pretty much everywhere in the world. It just is, that, oh, you know how to fix things? Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah. No, go away. Right. No, it doesn't work that way. So anyway, Johnny, isn't that why they abduct you when the spaceship comes?
They came a long way. Hey, Larry, let me show a video here for you guys out there. We'll end the show here with a video. This is why you call 1-800-DIG.
Oh,
he's putting in a pole. Guess what he hits?
Oh,
a gas line.
A gas line. Yeah.
So So call 1-800-DIG.
Yes. That is the tip of the day right there, Johnny.
That's the
wow.
tip of the day. We'll end there.
And we'll end there. Wow. Well, folks, once again, please like and subscribe to the show. Send us a review. Send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, we really appreciate the fact that you're out there. We really, we try to bring you good content. We're going to digress from a few things, and this one is a bit geared towards handyman, but it is what it is. Anyway, with that, Johnny, take us home, baby.
All right. Hey, folks, like we were talking about, don't even if you're traveling, you can get us, right? on the Handyman Pros radio show. We're on all the podcasts and YouTube. So we will talk to you next week.